I don't think I've ever heard a general manager this emotional over a trade. Here's Masai Ujiri speaking today to the media about the memories that he'll share with Pascal Siakam.
When you think about Pascal in 10, 20 years from now, what are you going to think about? Is there a moment that stands out to you when you think about him?
Yeah, two moments. Yeah. Yeah, two African guys that won the championship. I share that with him. And I think of his dad and Pascal at Basketball Without Borders. A lot of people don't know that Pascal came to Basketball Without Borders in South Africa. He had been admitted into pastoral school in Cameroon, and he only came to Basketball Without Borders to see his sister who lived in South Africa. And he was going to go back to pastoral school. And all NBA, all All-Star, all everything, championship. And it's not stereotype championship of African waving the flag on the bench. Yeah, scoring, contributing, doing everything, that you can think of. Again, I say to you guys that guy's success is my success, no matter where he is.
That is so tough to hear, and you hear how emotional this decision was for him. And Masai Ujiri made a business decision with the Pascal Siakam trade. It was the right time, and he spoke in the press conference about how the offers during the summer weren't the right offers with what they wanted to do with the team. This wasn't on the table for them. And last season, he felt that the team deserved a shot. That's why he went out and spent a first-round pick on Jakob Poeltl. He thought that there was more in the team and that he would give them a shot with Van Fleet, and that's why he didn't trade him ahead of time. And you understand his decision making a lot more after hearing him speak today. And I just wanted to get in there that little piece from the press conference about how the memories that he shared with Pascal. The rest of this episode, you'll hear, I recorded it before the press conference, but I needed to add this little portion here so we get that in context of the rest of what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to hit the intro and then you can listen to the rest of it.
The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Welcome to the Jesse Blake Sports Report. Whether this is your first time here, your last time here, or somewhere in between, I appreciate that you are here right now so that we can discuss Pascal Siakam being an Indiana Pacer. And when somebody gets traded or there's a big playoff loss or a coach gets fired or just some big turning point in a franchise or a player's career, there's always the article from the reporter. The article, the article I'm talking about, the one where it's like, hey, here's all the inside info. Here's the, not necessarily spin, but here's what's going on behind the scenes and the narrative that needs to get out there. Sometimes the narrative is, here's how messy that person was and how much people hated this coach. Or it's, here's how much he was beloved behind the scenes and the GM did this player wrong. Or here's the turmoil within the franchise and everybody from the PR person up to the owner is a mess. Or it's like, hey, here's how good it is. And the article that came out after Pascal was traded, there's a whole bunch, obviously, but one of the bigger ones was by Sam Amick. Sam Amick of The Athletic. The article's in The Athletic. You go read it right now. It came out this morning. And I was waiting for something like this, for the angle on the trade, because after I talk about this piece of it, I want to get into, obviously, my thoughts as a Raptors fan and how sad this is because the 2019 championship is all gone, besides Chris Boucher, who's hanging around, who was on that roster in 2019. Everything else has just been destroyed, all of our hopes and dreams. But we had our moment in the sun. So I'll talk about that after we talk a little bit about the Pascal and Indiana Pacers side of things, because Sam Amick in The Athletic wrote about how Pascal always wanted to be a Pacer, and not necessarily like always in terms of his time with the Raptors. He was always thinking about being a Pacer, but as this came to fruition, as it looked more and more likely that Pascal wasn't going to be a Raptor forever, the Indiana Pacers was his preferred destination. And there's several little tidbits about why this is the case and like how this came to be. And they show you their great insight into one, who Pascal is as a person and as a basketball mind, and two, that if this is the story we're getting out of the trade, like what a stand-up individual he is, which leans into the point one about it says a lot about who he is. And let's get into Pascal's love for the Pacers and why he wants to be there so badly. It starts with Siakam's first choice was to always magically get Kevin Durant to the Raptors, which is just like mind blown that it was even in the realm of possibility. But it kind of looked like it was possible when Durant was on the Brooklyn Nets and he wanted out. It was in June-ish, I want to say July that summer, when Durant's like, okay, I'm not playing in Brooklyn anymore and I need out of here. It looked like the Raptors had a shot, and if they were willing to give up Scottie and some other pieces, there was a chance that the Raptors could get Durant to Toronto, but that never happened, obviously, and who knows if it was actually possible. But while that was all happening, Siakam's like, that's the guy I want to play with the most. But if Durant can't come to Toronto, which he didn't, he wanted them to get somebody like Miles Turner. And that's what Sam Amick writes. He says, Turner was next up on his list of players with whom he would love to play with. And there's a lot to go with this. It's not just like, hey, Miles Turner's a great guy. Their games complement each other completely. Pascal loves getting in the lane. He loves driving the lane, and having the stretch five and Miles Turner, who will bring people out of the lane and free up that space for Siakam, just as a basketball mind. It's so cool to see that inside of him thinking about that and thinking like, hey, this will complement my game perfectly because I've watched Turner play, and this is how I get my offense going is through the lane and driving it there. And those two things will work in sync together. So that's who we wanted to play with, and get into Indiana. Now he gets that chance. And there's two other tidbits that were very minute, but they say they meant a big deal to Pascal Siakam. They are, one, when current Pacers general manager Chad Buchanan was the GM of the Charlotte Hornets, apparently he had a great pre-draft meeting with Siakam, said that there's a possibility he could have taken Siakam at the 22nd pick, and he ended up falling to the 27th pick where the Raptors took him. But he was one of the very few GMs, Masai obviously included, that were high on Siakam pre-draft. And that's something that Siakam apparently has never forgotten. And now that Buchanan is the GM of the Pacers, he's still very high on Siakam, apparently, and that goes back to way back when, and Siakam's never forgotten that. And then 3, he also remembers that current Indiana head coach Rick Carlisle voted him in as an all-star reserve when he didn't make the initial cut, but was added to the team as an injury replacement. So what we have here is, it's a whole bunch of stuff. It's just a notebook dump of the Siakam trade that Sam Amick has put together about, hey, Siakam's always had this kind of love for Indiana behind the scenes and the organization, the people there, and the playing style of the team. Obviously, like playing with Halliburton is going to be incredible. Having Halliburton and Hield and Miles Turner, like, it's going to be a fantastic offense that Indiana is going to put together. And like, I'm so happy for Indiana because I think their offense is going to be even more spectacular, even though they already have a great offense. Like, seeing it now, it's a great trade for them. But this notebook dump, it speaks to the nature of Siakam. He's not looking to go to a Miami for 3 months, do a couple stuff, sign a 2-year deal somewhere else, get a bunch of money, keep bouncing around. The way Siakam's always been is he wanted to put down his roots somewhere. He wanted to put down his roots in Toronto forever. Throughout this whole process, if Masai came to the table with Siakam with a fair market deal of, hey, sign here for 5 years, it's up to you, Siakam would have taken that. Like, there's no doubt in my mind right now that Siakam would be a Raptor forever if he had that choice. The choice was clearly taken away from him. The Raptors front office have made the decision that this is Scottie Barnes' team. They're moving forward with, quote, rebuild. I don't know how much of a rebuild it's a rebuild. I shouldn't even like couch it because I want them to be competitive for my own fan nature. But it's a rebuild now. It's Scottie Barnes' team. And Siakam didn't have the option to stick around here, even though that's his desire. He's not chasing the couple years contracts in the bigger markets and everything else that comes outside of the basketball. He's chasing a great basketball situation, being comfortable around a team that wants him to succeed and wants him in their long-term plans and has an organization where he can excel in and an offensive plan that he can excel in. And that's what he's getting in Indiana. So amongst all of the desired destinations for Siakam, like something like trading him to the 76ers in the summer, that's never going to make him happy. And he's never going to stick around there because the long-term basketball fit isn't there. And at the end of the day, that's why this trade is so sad. Toronto is losing a one-of-a-kind player who was just all about the basketball. Like I said, he would have stuck around here forever. And seeing our championship roster completely go away, having a stand-up guy like that be taken away from the city, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt for a long time. Losing Lowry hurt. Oh my gosh, losing Kawhi after the season hurt. Losing Van Fleet to the Rockets hurt in free agency. We didn't get anything for that. And now losing Siakam is like it. Like now it's completely done. Our hearts were broken in pieces, and finally the last biggest chunk of the piece finally fell off. And Scottie Barnes is going to be in charge of repairing the whole thing, and whoever else comes in that way. But that's this article here about how Siakam's just looking for a good basketball fit in a long-term place to put down his roots. It should bring a tear to your eye as a Raptors fan, because you wish that the Raptors were in a situation where they could keep him, because he's going to be one of the best organizational guys. And those are the players you want around the team, around younger players, to support older players so that you have a great culture. And he's a perfect culture guy, even though towards the end it definitely seemed like it soured because there was no future with the Raptors. You can understand his frustration there in the last 6 months of being a Raptor, because it definitely looked like he was over it because the Raptors didn't want to keep him. So you have this balance here where Masai and Bobby Webster have to do what's right for the organization and for winning the next championship and for building a competitive team, in that they can't offer Siakam anything long term. You have Siakam who is just like, I'm just here to play basketball, and I just want to make a whole bunch of money and play basketball and be comfy and hopefully win this team. And they're like, you know what? You can't do that here. And he's like, well, screw you guys. I need out. And it's this dichotomy where it's like, okay, both are kind of doing the right thing, even though there's clearly a lot of headbutting going on behind the scenes because Siakam just wanted to stick around here. And there's all of the Raptors reporters are talking about how he's going to keep his charities here. Everything he's established in the Toronto community is going to stick around. Like, these are going to be his basketball roots, not unlike Kyle Lowry, who's kept his foundation and all of the community events he's had in Toronto. They still remain here. Pascal Siakam is going to do that as well. And like, hey guys, Toronto's awesome. Everybody who sticks around here for a long time loves Toronto, and that's so cool to see. But it's also a very sad moment because our championship roster is long gone and no more. And we'll always have the memories of that 2019 run. And thank you, Siakam, for those great memories. And that's it. I don't do a lot of basketball on this channel, but I just want to share some thoughts on the reporting out of The Athletic today on Siakam and just the overall trade. So that is it. I'll be back very shortly with more on this channel and on this feed. I appreciate that you are here listening or watching this right now. I appreciate you. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you'll be doing this. That's it for me. Good night from Toronto.
And that is how it's done.
The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Jesse Blake, the guy that likes to hear his name twice in one sentence. Sure, I know him. No, he doesn't have an ego at all.